Hey, what's up everyone? I'm going to do another tier list. This is going to be a bit shorter than my previous video, I suppose, because I've already covered this rather recently, but I think now that we are 1 week into the road to national seasons and the second week is coming up, I have a bit more experience. I've seen some decks in action that I previously didn't, and I have a better feel of what is S tier and what isn't. So first of all, decks like Dash, I believe I played them rather low previously, but Dash is now definitely a B tier hero. The Aggro Dash version is very potent. I've seen in action it can deal a lot of damage to decks like Prism, but the deck still suffers by, like, if people start blocking and not doing anything else, the deck does run out of gas and does deck itself out, which is one of the main problems for a Dash deck in general. Fatigue strategies are gonna destroy this deck, that's why it's in the B tier instead of the A tier. In terms of damage output, definitely an A tier hero, but in terms of that it's so easy to counter the deck, it's unfortunately a B tier deck. Briar, definitely an S tier hero. Viserai as well, we've seen Hayden Dale get a first place spot with this deck, and I've seen a lot of people that have been navigating Viserai have very good success with the deck. Like I said, all those +1 values, the extra rune chance, they are adding up, they are making it that almost everything in this deck is really high value, and you can really see the results as such. It's a bit more of a technical deck, like even in the Starvo meta, Viserai didn't have on average it didn't have a great win rate because a lot of people don't really know how to play this deck properly, but Viserai mains are definitely going to be able to navigate this to the very top. It's a absolute S tier deck, no questions asked. Prism, still S tier, still very good. We had a lot of people complaining that Prism might not be as viable because we have so much aggro in the format. Well, that's true to some extent, but we've seen the rise of things like Herald Prism that doesn't really use as many auras anymore. It's now more aggro focused with all the new cards. I will probably do a deck list for it on the Patreon very soon because I had a patron requesting me to do a list for it. So if you're a patron, you're in luck. I'm gonna do a Prism list very soon. I won't be making it myself, by the way. I'm talking with some actual Prism mains to do the write-up for me because I have very little experience with Prism and I don't want to put something out that's not actually good. So keep an eye out for that. That's gonna be on the Patreon very soon. Kano, like what did drop in significance quite a bit is Kano because of all the aggro decks and decks like Briar, Kano doesn't really perform all that well anymore, even though we've seen it do really well in the Pro Tour in New Jersey. So right now I think Kano has dropped to A tier for sure. Katsu, I haven't really seen Katsu, like I want to put it there, like I really believe in the deck, but at the same time I haven't really seen many good results for Katsu, so unfortunately I'm going to place this one over in the B tier. This may have to do that the Fi deck is just a better version of Katsu, like Fi can deal more damage than Katsu can, even if Katsu has like the big Lord of Wind combo. Fi can do that almost every single turn with this Rupture card and stuff like that, so therefore Fi is definitely better than Katsu and is coincidentally an A tier hero. Not quite S tier, it's very close to it, but the deck has like just a little bit too many 2 blocks to be able to be an S tier hero. Doesn't mean that this deck cannot top RTNs, it's very close to being S tier, but everything needs to line up perfectly. You need to not have any dead hands, because the moment you have some dead hands, then the Fi strategy falls apart quickly, because this deck cannot block, and if the opponent presents something like an erased face twice in a row, then you're probably gonna lose with a deck like this. Therefore it's A tier, it's a bit too easy to counter, and that's a bit unfortunate. So Azalea, I have seen some people that took up the Azalea challenge, and I do believe that Azalea is now definitely a B tier hero. It's no longer the C tier. Actually, I think for the most part we don't really have C tier heroes at all anymore. Like, yeah, everything is like between S to B tier in terms of like really strong, viable, and still viable, just a little bit less so. So I'm very happy to see that. So Bravo, the OG Bravo, definitely a B tier hero. I haven't really seen that many good results for it. Icelander, like this one, has a lot of mixed results. I think it's mostly inexperience. Right now I will put it in the B tier because we haven't really seen many good results for the Icelander deck, but I think once people figure this deck out, it's definitely gonna move up quite a bit, which is something that we've seen with Dromai. Like, Dromai has been topping quite a lot of Road to Nationals, like, how to say, like result-wise, we should probably put it in the S tier. However, we've also seen that a lot of people are struggling with the deck, so I'm not sure if it's been topping events in the hands of experienced player because the deck is very good, or because the deck is just performing well because people don't know how to counter it properly yet. So I will put it in the A tier for now, because I do think the unfamiliarity of opponents facing a deck like this are kind of contributing towards its win rate. I think once people figure out how to counter a Dromai deck properly, it's probably gonna sit around the A tier slot, which is very surprising to me because previously I think I even put it in C tier in my previous video, didn't I? I can't remember, like I don't have any notes or anything what I had in my previous video, but Dromai people are figuring out the deck. They are starting to be more consistent with the deck, because keep in mind, every time the opponent attacks a dragon, it's like a free life gain for a Dromai deck, right? Because that's damage that is not coming to your face. Of course, decks like the Rentia, they can have a field day with a deck like this, because they can just go hit the dragon, hit another dragon, get a counter, and start farming counters on things like the Dawnblade. But for the most part, it seems that the on-hit effect decks have not really been doing all that much. Like, yeah, Fi has a field day against a Dromai deck, but that's really about it. I guess Katsu to some extent as well. And maybe does Azalea? Well, Azalea does have that nice combo line with the Endless Arrows that they can hit a dragon, get it back to the hand, put it back in the arsenal with some effect, and then hit something else, which is quite nice. But other than that, it seems that Dromai doesn't have as many bad matchups as people are making it seem to be. Reiner, definitely A tier, a very good hero, and it's doing very well in the Reiner main hands, and we can really see the results because of that. In terms of S tier, I still think that all team is S tier. There haven't been that many people playing the deck, but the people that do play the deck seem to be doing relatively well with it. And I think more people should give this deck a shot if they want to have a good, like a good game plan in the current metagame. Of course, people are afraid of the prisms at the moment. That's why, from what I've gathered talking to people, why most people don't play Ultim. Do keep in mind that pretty much every hero in the format has like a silver bullet in it, so every hero is gonna have some kind of a bad matchup. So I think you should just take your losses with an Ultim against the prism decks, and you should have a decent shot against pretty much everything else, which is kind of good. So for Lexi, I thought that she was gonna be an S tier hero, but it turns out that she's not performing all that well in the current metagame. That puts her at an A tier. As for Bolton, I thought it would be an A tier hero, but unfortunately, because of Erase Phase, it makes the Luminescension combo line a bit more difficult than it used to be. Because of that, it's now a B tier hero. It's very easy for the opponent to kind of make the whole Bolton plan fall apart rather quickly. So Dorentia, I still think is an A tier hero for sure. Like, we've seen Dorentia top at a couple of events, if I'm not mistaken, and definitely making into the top 4. So Dorentia has a very good matchup against a lot of the current heroes, which is very nice to see. And Levias is one of the decks that I was very surprised about, because I've seen a lot of Levias in the top 8. I am not sure what that means for Levia. Like, does that mean she's an A tier hero, or does that mean that she's still a B tier hero? I'm not sure, but there is definitely potential for the Levia deck. I still think Reiner is slightly better than a Levia, so I'm gonna put Levia over in B tier. However, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this, because apparently Levia is doing a lot better than I imagined it would. For the most part, it seems we don't really have C tier heroes. If I really need to spread this out, I guess Azalea is a little bit less good than these other heroes, and maybe in the current iterations that Icelander should be down here as well, simply because Icelander hasn't really been doing much in terms of changing the meta or having like a proper anti-aggro deck. It seems that the damage output of this deck is just slightly too low to be relevant, because it only takes like 1 or 2 bad hands for an Icelander to lose the game. So definitely something like this. But But again, like all these decks, the win rate difference between these are so minimal. We are in such a great meta game right now that pretty much everything is kind of viable. So what do I think if there should be any bans? Well, I still think for the long-term health of the game, we might need to see some changes to the Rune Blades, because the Rune Blades are still outperforming pretty much everything else from what I can see, and it's mostly because of things like Mordred Tides making Viceroy absolutely insane, and stuff like Force of Nature being able to combo off so perfectly well with something like a Channel Mountain Rogue that's already on the field, that I believe that these two are a bit too overpowered for the current metagame. Like Prism and Old Team, they have some very clear counters, but I feel with the Rune Blade specifically, if they can high roll the opponent, they're gonna win. It's not really a... Well, they require skill to navigate, but there's not much skill involved in trying to defend yourself against these heroes. And because the sideboard tax options are so small, it's not really possible to bring a decent amount of defense reactions into these matchups either, because we need our 6 attacks for the Prism matchups, and we need stuff like that all you got for all the low hitting heroes like Fi. So I'm not really sure what is a proper counter for decks like this. I would say if your hero has something that can allow for discard effects, so for example a Rhina that runs Pommels or a Levia that runs Pommels, you probably have a good time in the current metagame, because if you can make these heroes discard even a single card, it's gonna really affect their game plan quite a bit. They need all their cards, so that's the only thing I can really think of, but many heroes don't really have that available to them, which makes it a bit awkward. But yeah, in terms of performance, this is definitely the list. In terms of actual true spread, I think the current tier list looks something like this. Feel free to let me know if you agree or disagree with this. If you do disagree though, please let me know why in the form of actual data. Give me some results, like either a local tournament, let me know how many players were there, let me know who was in the top, who wasn't, and let me know why, and then we can talk, and then I can also incorporate that into my data set, and that will make it a lot easier to make an accurate tier list going forward. For now, I think this is accurate though, and if you want to be at the top of the metagame, I would say pick up one of the Rune Blades, and you should have a very good time. I think these two especially are slightly above everything else in the metagame right now, even above Prism and Old Team. So that's all for me for today. If you want to support me, you can do so by joining my Patreon. Then you will have access to a lot of deck tags and personal advice and stuff like that. And you will get to have a say on what content will be on the channel next. And other than that, don't forget to subscribe. I will do some new deck tags pretty soon. And yeah, thank you for watching. See you all soon.